This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. It is Tuesday, November 26th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, get ready for some winter weather as snow, cold temperatures, and high winds hit much of the country. What's the real reason Michael Bloomberg is running for president? Is it out of concern that President Donald Trump might be reelected? And how much will he spend to win? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gets some good news. We're going to tell you about that and what could happen next in Israel's complicated election situation. And he went from building luxury homes to homeless himself to being a drug addict. Now he is a new man. We're going to tell you what turned his life around. We've got all those stories and much more in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We begin this half hour with the winter storm wreaking havoc for many Americans as they attempt to travel for Thanksgiving. Rush hour was a mess last night in Denver. A winter storm advisory is in place until tonight with up to 16 inches of snow expected in some places. That would make it the biggest snowstorm to hit the area in 3 years. So far, airlines have canceled more than 450 flights at Denver's airport, and 200,000 people are expected to travel through there today. Nationwide, a record 51 million people will be traveling this Thanksgiving holiday. That is the highest number in 12 years. In the Midwest, people are preparing for the worst as the storm moves east.
I've got chains for my car. So
we have plenty of wine.
Lots of wine, yeah, and a bulldozer.
And in the East Coast, in New York City, final rehearsals are underway for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Wind gusts are expected to reach 40 miles per hour Thanksgiving Day and could ground many of the popular balloons. If so, it would be the first time since 1971. The Democratic presidential race may be changing with former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who's also a multi-billionaire, officially entering the race. His campaign chief, Kevin Sheekey, told CNN Bloomberg is running because he believes President Donald Trump is on his way to winning next year's election. Bloomberg is worth an estimated $53 billion. He says he will spend whatever it takes to win the nomination. Abigail Robertson takes a closer look at the race.
Mike Bloomberg for president, jobs creator, leader, problem solver. It's going to take all three to build back a country.
Over the next 2 weeks, he hopes to introduce himself to voters, courtesy of a $37 million television ad buy.
Mike Bloomberg started as a middle-class kid who had to work his way through college, then built a business from a single room to a global entity, creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs along the way.
A huge sum, totaling more than half of the $50 million spent thus far on TV ads by the entire 2020 Democratic presidential field.
We do not believe that billionaires have the right to buy elections.
A move that's catching heat from his opponents like Senator Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang.
You can't buy passion. If you have to put people against money, I will take people every day of the week.
Over the years, Bloomberg's fought for gun control, combating tobacco use, and cutting our carbon footprint. Ahead of his campaign announcement, the 77-year-old former Republican visited an African-American mega church in Brooklyn to apologize for his controversial stop-and-frisk policy.
I want you to know that I realized back then I was wrong.
Bloomberg argues he's the antithesis of Donald Trump, who he calls a failed businessman whose companies went bankrupt multiple times, while touting himself as a proven leader with an unmatched track record in business and government.
Defeating Trump and rebuilding America is the most urgent and important fight of our lives, and I'm going all in.
On Monday, he kicked his campaign off at an event in Norfolk, Virginia.
If President Trump wins another term in office, we may never recover from the damage that he can do.
Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Now, CBN News did speak with voters at Monday's event. They were mixed on how they feel about Bloomberg jumping into the race. Some were excited, while others didn't know exactly who he is. I want to turn now to Israel, where the Attorney General there said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't have to leave office after his indictment on corruption charges. Netanyahu's political opponents called on him to step down after he was indicted. The indictment comes at a delicate political time in Israel, after both Netanyahu and his chief political rival, Benny Gantz, have been unable to form a new government after 2 elections. With us now for more on this is our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. So, Chris, what are the political and legal challenges facing Netanyahu right now?
Well, right now, Ephraim, he's facing three political challenges. The first one will end on December 11th. Until that time, any one of the Knesset members can actually form a government and choose a new prime minister. Now, if Netanyahu can get by that, the next challenge he faces is within his own political party, the Likud. He does face a challenger. Now, if he can win that battle, then he's got one last political battle, and that will be the general election. That will be probably in next March. Now, if he can face all those challenges, he has a shot. And if he can convince the Israeli public that despite the indictments that he's had, that he should be the next prime minister, in the meantime, he's going to be facing the legal challenge. Now, if he faces and succeeds in all those political challenges, the legal battle that he faces will take months, probably years. So that's what he's facing right now, a real legal hurdle, one after the other, till the next election, probably in March.
So what are the dangers facing Israel as it struggles now politically?
Well, Ephraim, the number one challenge is Iran, and that's why on Sunday, Prime Minister Netanyahu went up with the defense minister, Naftali Bennett, up to the Golan Heights. Just about 2 weeks ago, Iran fired 4 missiles into the Golan Heights. And even the U.S., the head of the U.S. command in the Middle East, General McKenzie, said that he expects Iran to have another attack. He said the attack by Iran against the Saudi Arabian oil facility back in September was audacious. And he says that was a stunning attack. He expects more. So the number one threat that Israel is facing now, even in its political sort of paralysis, is Iran. And I think Netanyahu wants to send a signal to Tehran that regardless of their political instability right now and fragility, that Israel would respond to any attack by the Islamic Republic.
You mentioned Iran. What's happening inside the Islamic Republic, and how serious are its own internal struggles?
Well, they're very serious, and you have demonstrations in Tehran and throughout the country. And there's actually some people who think these demonstrations could lead to the fall of the Islamic Republic. You remember, Ephraim, in 1979, it was formed 40 years right now, and there's been simmering resentment against the supreme leader, the mullahs, and they've really had to have an iron hand to hold all these multi-ethnic groups within Iran together. And right now we're seeing that simmering frustration, resentment against the supreme leader bubbling and going throughout the streets. Whether or not it leads to the fall of the regime remains to be seen, but people are hopeful that freedom will finally come to the Iranian Republic.
All right, Chris Mitchell reporting for us from Jerusalem. Thank you, Chris. Coming up, if anyone has something to be thankful for this Thanksgiving, you could certainly say it's the man in our next story. He built luxury homes, then became homeless and ended up in prison. He's also a former drug addict, but now he's able to reach out to other addicts by his radio show. We're going to tell you what turned his life around and what made him a new man. When we come back, please stay with us.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible, yes, Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Well, he went from building luxury homes to being homeless and then serving some time in prison. Michael Moulton now has a radio show that reaches an audience of more than 500,000. Charlene Aaron brings us his remarkable story from riches to rock bottom to better than ever.
5 nights a week here in this studio in Dallas, Michael Moulton reaches an audience of people from all walks of life, tackling tough topics like drug and alcohol addiction, an issue he knows all too well.
Gather round, gather round, gather round, clowns. Michael Moulton, Into the Rock, coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, D-Town, baby. I never imagined in my life, and what a great feeling it is to help people, to help save their life. You know, I get messages every day on how God is using me to touch people. We reach over 500,000 people a week.
We have got a lot to talk about today.
Via his podcast and Facebook shows called Into the Rock, Moulton shares about his dark past as an alcoholic and drug addict and how he went from building homes to being homeless.
When I had the home building company and I was married at the time, my behaviors were getting worse and worse. My consequences were getting worse and worse. And I will never forget that in 2009, I got pulled over and I got arrested. I had a large amount of cocaine in my truck. I was intoxicated and I was arrested. And I'll never forget when they took me down to the jail, I had my very first mugshot.
26 mugshots later, Moulton hit rock bottom.
When I look back, that's how the word powerless. I'm powerless over this deadly disease.
Agitated and facing 3 years behind bars, he experienced a spiritual encounter after an inmate asked him to read to him.
And I grabbed this book from a gangbanger, a Black Panther, and he used it as a pillow. Brand new book. And it was the Living Recovery Bible, New Living Translation. Now, these are black words on white paper at the time. They're not meaning anything to me. And the next thing I know, 4 days have passed by. And I started thinking about this, and I go, 4 days just went by, and I wasn't anxious. I wasn't in fear. I was calm, and I was at peace.
Later that night, another life-changing moment.
I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh, like that. And all of a sudden, I felt all this trash and hatred and anger and resentment and everything just coming out of my body like flies. All this stuff was just coming out. And I just took this breath and I just go, and something magical happened, and I was full of love. And I was looking around, and I loved everybody.
That love motivated him to hold Bible studies behind bars.
And I started preaching, and I didn't realize what I was doing. And I did it at the end of every dinner.
In 2017, a paperwork error led to Moulton's accidental release. So with no money or food, he walked 300 miles to ask Judge Jennifer Bennett to send him back to jail.
I walk in there to turn myself in, and I'm excited. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna go back to prison, I'm gonna go do my time and get this over with and get this behind me. I'm in complete acceptance. God is running the show, right? And I walk in there, and Judge Bennett says, Mr. Moulton, there's obviously someone a lot bigger working in your life than me, and I'm not gonna get in the way. And she set me free. And she says, I want you to come back tomorrow with a self-correct program And she goes, I want you to go pay it forward.
And Moulton is doing just that by sharing his story of freedom and sobriety with those seeking help for addiction.
I was the biggest mess in the state of Texas. Today, the judges call me to ask me for my advice. There are judges in the state of Texas that have reached out to me that I have personally helped them with their family members to get them into treatment, to get help. There are judges that family members who have watched the show that have reached out that are now clean and sober today.
Judge Bennett has even appeared as a guest, and the impact of Moulton's work is reaching around the globe.
I've been on podcasts all over the world. But, we're getting them, the majority of them are from America, but it's all over.
In the end, Moulton says his message is simple. If God changed him, he can change anybody.
I don't wake up in the middle of the night craving a drink. I don't. The mental obsession of drugs and alcohol has been removed. And my drug of choice today is God.
I am grateful that through all the pain, my story, and everything that I've been through in my life is that I finally understand better on what forgiveness means.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News, Dallas.
Still ahead, as Americans celebrate Thanksgiving, it's likely many of us will have food left over, but you can still use it for other meals. We're going to show you exactly how, right after this.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
So many of us end up with more food than we can actually eat for Thanksgiving. And in case you're wondering what to do with those Thanksgiving leftovers and not just do the same old thing, on this week's Healthy Living, celebrity chef Ellie Krieger shows us how to make easy tacos your family will love.
So really just started off here cooking some onions and garlic in a pan, and this is all made in one skillet because it's a hole-in-one, right? So garlic and onions, and then we're going to make this beautiful, flavorful sauce for the turkey, but really easily. So basically, it just involves adding some tomato paste. I'm sorry, tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce. It's not as thick as
it's like a puree. So just a can of the tomato puree.
Just one can. That's great because you don't waste.
14-ounce can, exactly. Yeah. And then some green salsa, some salsa verde. Tomatillo salsa, and then you can buy, you buy a jar of that, and essentially you can use that also just as a regular dipping salsa as well. It's delicious. Also what goes in here is some nice smoky spice from chipotle chili in adobo. So this comes in a can also, and just a little goes a long way to bring so much smoky, rich flavor.
So for those of who don't really know about this particular ingredient, it's chipotle chili in adobo sauce.
Yes.
And you would find it on the international aisle of the grocery store?
Just in the canned food section, in the international aisle, where you might find other sort of taco ingredients.
Okay.
But basically, it's chipotle is a smoked jalapeno.
Okay.
So think about it with the heat of a jalapeno. So you want to use about a tablespoon, and then the sauce that it comes in is super flavorful. So I put a little bit of that in also.
That's the adobo sauce.
Exactly. And you will inevitably have leftovers because a little bit goes a long way, as I said. What I like to do with the leftovers, I put them in little plastic baggies and freeze them.
Wonderful.
So then you have like sort of individual portions for, and you can put that in your regular chili. You could put it in meatloaf. It's really good. So there's lots of things you can do with it.
So that's great. Some people will really love the heat. Some people like me don't like it very much at all. So for people who like me don't like a lot of spice, how much are we talking about?
So, I mean, I would start with maybe 2 teaspoons.
2 teaspoons.
And then taste and see at the end, you know, because it's going to reduce for a while.
Okay.
And the flavors concentrate as it reduces. So it's better to, you can always add more, but you can't take away.
A great
right?
rule of
That's
thumb.
a good cooking rule of thumb. So then just some oregano and salt and some chicken broth. And then this just comes to a simmer.
How much chicken broth are you putting in there?
So that's, oh gosh, I think that's about half a cup.
Okay. Because a lot of people have, and can you substitute turkey broth? A lot of people have extra turkey broth after Thanksgiving.
Or even you could put water, a little water in there too.
Okay.
So then this comes to a boil and starts to simmer, and you want it to really cook down so it gets like a darker shade of red.
Darker shade of red.
And that will really develop the flavor.
And how long does that take about?
Oh, it takes about maybe 10 minutes, I would say.
Okay, that's fast.
Yeah, super fast and super easy. As you can see, very little chopping involved. And then it winds up looking like this. And so the tomato really takes on that rich, dark color. And you can smell the smokiness of the chili.
It smells like a Mexican restaurant in here.
Exactly.
And that'll be such a great treat for people on Thanksgiving week and you're watching the football games to have something a little bit different than the traditional Thanksgiving meal.
And you could even do like kind of mini tacos and make them like kind of bite size.
Perfect.
And that would be fun finger food for like game day.
Absolutely.
So then the turkey, or you could do rotisserie chicken, of course. Then that goes in. And it just simmers together until it really absorbs the flavor. All the turkey is warmed through and the flavors are absorbed. And then you use this as your main taco mix. And again, it's one skillet. And then what I like to do, I want to show you as this kind of simmers in here, I want to show you what I think is really essential to do for your tortillas.
And I see that the chicken or turkey pieces, they're not real tiny. They're just sort of like bite-sized. They're actually pretty chunky.
Yeah, well, I like to just shred it. Kind of gives it that like rustic feel.
And plus, again, not too much time. Spending chopping it up real small.
Exactly. You don't have to spend a lot of time and effort. That's the whole idea here, to have like a whole meal that's really nutritionally complete, that's all healthy ingredients, that's also easy to do. And if it's easy and tasty, then you're more likely to cook at home and to have that meal at home and enjoy it. So anyway, I'm going to let that simmer away, and I want to show you how I heat up the tortillas.
Okay.
So I like to use corn tortillas or flour, but whole grain. I would say these are like 6-inch. And then you just put it, if you have a gas stove, you just put it on the stove like that.
Wow.
And
I just put it right on there.
Just put it right on there.
Okay, I saw
just
a little
30,
flame.
That's all right.
But this is very authentic.
And then you can top yours. Why don't you go ahead and top it?
And so these are like the typical, this is sort of like salsa type thing?
Yeah, some salsa and some lettuce. I like to keep it really green and vegetable oriented. So then you have your whole grain carb on the bottom.
Yeah, you
have your protein and you have lots of veggies. So it's a complete meal. And it's super fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
that
so
looks
now,
good.
I
That
know.
looks great.
Is it so you kind of do like this?
Yeah.
All right. And then I'm going to take a quick bite. This is probably not going to be very camera-friendly.
But it's beautiful. A little messy taco's a beautiful thing. It's very good. Oh, good.
Now you can watch Ellie make lots of other meals all in one skillet tonight on Healthy Living. It begins at 9:30 Eastern. Of course, you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, we're going to have a look at some special programming coming up for Thanksgiving on the CBN News Channel and an encouraging word for your day. Stay with us.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
I'll let you know about some special Thanksgiving programs for you in case you want to tune into the CBN News Channel this week. On Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, always a big football day. We've got a mini marathon of our sports show, Going the Distance. It begins at noon and ends at 2:30 p.m. Then on Friday, from noon to 2:30, you can see Ignite Your Life, where you can hear about how sharing your faith at every opportunity turns every day into an adventure, and what being a Christian is all about. We also have a special primetime programming as well, The Hope, about the 50 years leading up to the birth of Israel, airing Thanksgiving night from 8 to 10, and To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world. That airs on Friday night from 8 to 10. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray will bless you, inspire you, and move you to post, tag, tweet, and share it with those in your circles of influence. Long lines, traffic, endless delays, no one likes to wait. But there is a life lesson in the waiting. While waiting is not always easy, take comfort. God is working in your wait. Be still and know that He is God. With that word, make today a terrific Tuesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can always find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel at any time or online at cbnnews.com. Also, we'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here tomorrow, same time. Make it a terrific Tuesday, everybody. Goodbye, and God bless.